like sunshine, like springtime, like something's in the water and I'm taking a deep dive. I'm feeling so weightless, like I'm gonna make it, and nothing in the universe can take this. I can see it clearly now, nothing gonna bring me down. I got my head held high, I'm on my way, and I'm following the signs to my happy place. I'm walking in the light of a brand new day, and I'm right where I belong in my happy place. I got my head held high, I'm on my way, and I'm following the signs to my happy place. I'm walking in the light of a brand new day, and I'm right where I belong in my happy place. And I'm right where I belong in my happy place. And I'm right where I belong in my happy place.
Welcome to the National University of Singapore Yonglou Lin School of Medicine webinar on healthy longevity. So we're very fortunate tonight because we have Michael Greve, who's the CEO and founder of Kizoo Technology Ventures and the Forever Healthy Foundation, talking about investing in the longevity and rejuvenation space. And before we start, I want to remind you to use the Q&A function to ask questions, and we will try to get to them as we can at the end of the talk. And before we start, I've asked one of my postdocs, Guan Xiaoping, to give you an update on a recent paper in the aging field that looks at lifespan extension by the fecal microbiome transplantation in progeroid mice.
Thank you, Prof. Brian. As Prof. Brian said, I'm Xiaoping, a senior research fellow from his lab, and today I will be discussing a recent finding from Basina and colleague in Nature Medicine with the title Health Span and Lifespan Extension by Fecal Microbiota Transplantation into Progeroid Mice. The human gut microbiome and its composition play a crucial role in regulating health status and lifespan. However, less is known about the contribution of the microbiome to aging. One limitation has been the length of time necessary to study such changes, particularly in humans. To address this, Basina et al. Investigated the role of intestinal dysbiosis in aging in mouse progeria models and also in human centenarian. To explore the relevance of microbiome in progeria, the author first studied the gut metagenome profile of lamin A G609G mouse, a mouse model of Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome, by comparing wild-type and G609 mice at 3 different ages. When comparing the wild-type and progeroid mice at 4 months of age, as shown in figure A and B, the main difference was a reduction in abundance of varicomicrobial in progeroid mice, together with an increase of Bacteroides and gamma proteobacteria. The genus Akkermansia is critical to gut health, as high abundance of Akkermansia has been associated with improved health. By contrast, the G609 4-month-old mice exhibited an increment of Enterobacteriaceae that has been associated with dysbiosis and intestinal inflammation. Based on this observation, they hypothesized that the centenarian might possess a health-promoting microbiome and perform a metagenomic analysis of centenarian with healthy adults. As shown in figure E, the centenarian also presented more varicomicrobia. So hence the author demonstrated that the genus Akkermansia in varicomicrobia plays a critical role in the aging phenotype. They hypothesized that the gut microbiota alteration are associated with accelerated aging phenotype. To confirm this, the author performed fecal microbiome transplantation, FMT, in different mouse groups. The G609 mice transplanted with wild-type microbiota manifested a delayed loss of body weight in figure G, avoided phenotype-dependent hypoglycemia as shown in figure H, and attenuated renal perivascular fibrosis as shown in figure I. Most importantly, the G609 mice transplanted with wild-type microbiota show an improved survival compared to control G609 mice, with a 13.5% increase in median lifespan, as shown in figure J. In contrast, also in figure J, G609 mice transplanted with a microbiota from older G609 mice show a reduced survival compared to the control G609 mice. So it is clear that FMT from wild-type mice enhance health span and lifespan in progeroid mouse model. As the result thus far describe a loss in Akkermansia minucipilla in G609 4-month-old mice and an increase in centenarian sample, together with finding that this bacterium exert beneficial effect in other models, the author tested the lifespan effect of oral supplementation of Akkermansia mucinifila to G609 mice. As shown in figure L, the author noticed a modest lifespan extension when the Akkermansia municipula alone was supplemented, suggesting a protective role of this microorganism against accelerated aging manifestation. The Akkermansia municipula supplementation also induced ileal expression of RET3G and favor the thickening of intestinal mucosal layer as shown in figure N. The ability to metabolize mucin by the Akkermansia mucinifila is coupled with its ability to stimulate mucin production, which consequently lead to amelioration of age-related loss of mucin. So overall, this work suggests a connection between aging and gut microbiome composition and provide an additional evidence that microbiome modulation through FMT could provide some protection against age-related disease. Further study, including well-designed control trial, will be necessary to confirm the health benefit described here. There is definitely more interesting topic to be discussed about the finding in this article. It will be worthwhile to explore more. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Xiaoping. So we're very lucky to have Michael Greve tonight. He's one of the most successful founders in the German-speaking internet industry. Don't worry, his English is good too. But together with his nonprofit organization Forever Healthy and his venture firm Kizoo, Michael is using his expertise as an entrepreneur, VC, and mentor to support the creation of startups, turning research on the root causes of aging into therapies and services for human application. And I know that a lot of people have found it challenging to figure out how to turn these exciting findings in the aging field into private sector companies. And so tonight, Michael will be talking about investing in Rejuvenation Biotech. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Hey, thank you for having me. I will jump right into my presentation. Hello and welcome to everybody. Thanks for really turning up in such a large number. That's a great opportunity to present what we are doing. We are Kizoo. Kizoo is a venture capital company. Me and my teams, we are entrepreneurs in high growth tech and biotech companies. We have been doing venture capital since 2008. Before that, we had built some of the biggest internet companies in Germany. We have created multiple exits and massive value for the founders of our startups that we have mentored and financed. Since 3 years now, we are 100% focused on Rejuvenation Biotech. And why that is so, I would like to give you a bit of context about what we're doing. Kizoo is part of my Forever Healthy initiative. It's a private nonprofit initiative that I finance with the returns that I made with my internet activities. The mission of For Healthy is twofold. We want to enable people to vastly extend their healthy lifespan, and we want to accelerate the advent of rejuvenation biotechnology. So what does this mean for us? I always give people, ask them to imagine that we could immediately improve our well-being that we can directly reverse chronic diseases. And really my favorite image that I'm really working, that I have in mind when we're working at Forever Healthy and Kizoo is, I would love to be as healthy and fit mentally and physically at the age of 70 that I was at the age of 30. We want to stay free of the diseases of aging for the most part of our lives and hopefully extend our healthy lifespan by decades. And what is happening right now, of course, you're all in the field. If somebody's not really in the field, there's a silent scientific revolution going on. The world actually has the world where we were totally helpless about age-related diseases has started the transition to a world where we have age-related diseases and the aging process under full medical control. Of course, we are not there yet, then otherwise everybody would know. But the theoretical groundwork has been done in a lot of places at the Sense Foundation, with the Sense model of aging, the hallmarks of aging. So basically, for a lot of things, we know what to do. Basic research is taking place, is accelerating. Of course, there could be more and there should be more. And the first drugs and therapies that counter some aspects and reverse some aspects of aging are already under development. And even more amazing, the first generation of treatments that slow down some aspects of aging and reverse some aspects of aging are already available today if you know where to look. So when you're in the field, it's obvious. It's a question not if this is going to happen, but when this is going to happen. And this is where we put all our entrepreneurial efforts and our resources. That's our mission. We want to accelerate the future. So in order to do so, we have started several initiatives around Forever Healthy and Kizoo. And one of those you might know, it's the Undoing Aging Conference. It's so we can do this after COVID. It's an annual conference in Berlin. It's completely focused on actual human rejuvenation therapies. And it's a big networking event. We bring together science, the leading scientists of the world, startup, investors, media, the leading bloggers, and also the interested public. It takes part in Berlin. The last time when we could do it was 2019. We had more than 500 participants. We hope that we can do it again in 2021 in an even more beautiful location. And you can read on our website, undoing-aging.org, more about that. A second initiative that I would like to highlight is our Rejuvenation Now initiative. As I said, the first generation of therapies are available now, but unfortunately, there's no transparency, there's no reliable information about those therapies. The whole market is really cowboy style, it's marketing driven, there's no focus on risk and risk management. And for an advanced consumer, or even medical doctor who wants to use these therapies, it's virtually impossible to make an educated decision. This is why we've started the Rejuvenation Now initiative to create transparency. What we basically do is we have a long backlog of potential therapies in the field. Then we pick one and we go through all the research that's usually around 2,000 to 3,000 papers. And we assess risk, benefits, potential application, a potential therapeutic protocol. We do a really detailed analysis, and then we publish these risk and benefit analysis, open access on our website for free. So far, we have done 5 of these analyses and more are in preparation. And yeah, that's the main topic of tonight is investing in rejuvenation. That's also an initiative that we have started with turning my venture capital company from internet and tech investments completely to rejuvenation biotech. We are a bit of a special case in investing in rejuvenation biotech because we are 100% mission driven. So we are not about the return, but about the mission that we are after. And the mission that Kizoo is really trying to follow is we want to accelerate the advent of rejuvenation biotechnology. So what does this mean? We want to accelerate the creation of what we think will be the biggest industry in human history ever. We have to see that there's a big paradigm shift going to happen. So far, healthcare has been about making sick people healthy again. And the new paradigm will be keeping healthy people healthy. And that also includes rejuvenating them on a concurrent basis. And that is a big shift about what's going to happen. It's going to be a beautiful thing, getting aging under medical control. And on the other hand, dealing with every person on the planet over 40 or 35. So we're talking about 4 to 5 billion people as potential customers and potential people using the services that will come along. What is also unique about Kizoo, we are not a venture fund in the common sense. We are just investing my money. We are investing from our balance sheet. Just to give you an idea of the commitment that we are looking at, we think that we have to invest up to $300 million US dollars in the next 5 to 7 years in order to follow through with the goals that I'm going to explain shortly for our key investments, for our key startups that we are working with. So our mission is delivering proof at Kizoo. So when you talk to people, and that's my experience, when I talk to people about, well, this new paradigm in healthcare, about rejuvenation biotechnology, it really sounds like science fiction. And I mean, this is a big change in human history. We were so far not able to do anything about aging. And all of a sudden, some people say, hey, you could do something about aging. And I think we have to deliver proof, not just talking about it, demonstrating it in mice, rabbits, or even dogs is a nice step, but it will not convince people that this is the real deal, that it's not science fiction. So we want to deliver proof. So what we do is we really focus on what we call category openers. That is things that have never been done before. These are very high risk investments for us. I just expect probably to lose all the money that we invest, but the reward is even more extreme than the risk. I'd like to refer to these investments as lighthouse investments, because of course we would be happy if they succeed, but we would also be happy if we just inspire other scientists, investors, and the general public about what's to come. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that we are doing with our startups, but we would really be happy if that just inspires 10 more startups to say, hey, that's a great idea, but we can do better. We have a better way of doing this. And I would be so happy about that and just take their therapy instead of ours. So this is what we're going after. So we invest under a certain paradigm. We invest to prove, first of all, that rejuvenation is not science fiction, it's real. And the second thing that we want to demonstrate with our startups, it's not for the rich, it's for everybody. The third thing that we want to demonstrate, it's uncomplicated. So it's not a huge machine that you're going to be pushed in and some big thing happening to you. It's probably just an injection every now and then. It's a pill that you swallow, maybe an IV. And the fourth thing that we want to show, especially to the VC and the business world, this is going to be the best business ever. I'm going to introduce you to some of the startups, but in general, imagine we could cure heart disease, so no heart attacks anymore. Imagine a simple pill that you would swallow, and this is one thing that we're working on that takes care of that. You're never going to have a heart attack in your life. And that this is something that more than 4 billion people on the planet, everybody over the age of 40 is at the risk of building a plaque and having a heart attack. So what I envision is that in average, I would see this therapy be available for $10 a month to everybody on the planet. Maybe to somebody in India where you have less money, it's even cheaper. Maybe it's just $2 or $3 per month. And in the rest of the world, it might be a bit higher. But you can easily do the math. $10 for 4 billion people removal, that's $40 billion per month, $480 billion a year. Multiply this by a times of 20 for a company valuation. So you end up with a $10 trillion company if you cure heart disease in that way, in a preventive way. It's not saying that we are going to do this, but this is going to be the market size of just taking care of this one issue, heart disease. So this is going to be the best business ever. So talking about the actual startups that we support, we focus on startups that translate research into human therapies. Our focus is completely on molecular and cellular repair of age-related damage, according to the sense or hallmarks of aging paradigm. We help our startups. We really work closely with them, and with our core startups, our experiences has been a 2 to 3 year process from the idea, first meetings and talks with the researchers until you really have the funded company. We help them in this transition from the IP and also from the people from the universities into their companies. We provide mentoring and seed finding at the seed, directly at seeding the company, but also onwards once they're growing in later rounds. And so far we have invested into 14 startups, and we are doing things in the area of plaque removal, decalcification, mitochondrial transfer, cross-link breakers, senolytics, GDF11, and multi more topics. For us, it's important. We want to stick with our startups, especially our core startups, and also finance them in later rounds, because we want to help them stay on track and go for the 4 goals that we have: proving it's real, showing it's for everybody, showing it's uncomplicated, and that it's a great business for everybody. I've brought 3 examples with me. I think that highlight very well what we are doing and how this new medicine is working and how the approaches are. So first of all, I would like to introduce you to Underdog Pharmaceuticals. In Underdog, we want to eliminate the root cause of cardiovascular disease. That is the buildup of soft plaques in the arterial wall. Just to give you an idea on what we are working on and how repairing a root cause in general works is, if you look at how heart disease or heart attack happens, is that basically we have cholesterol in our blood, and that cholesterol is oxidized. Oxidized cholesterol enters the arterial wall, and there it's recognized by the body as a foreign thing that should be removed. So the body calls the immune system to help, and the macrophages enter the arterial walls, and they consume this oxidized cholesterol. And the macrophages are like every cells to digest stuff that should be broken down. They have a special entity in the cell that's called the lysosome. And so the oxidized cholesterol is transported to the lysosome and should be broken down there. Unfortunately, our macrophages are not able to break down this oxidized cholesterol. And so the backup plan of our cell is, well, if I cannot break it down, and since it's harmful, I just store it. So the cell stores it in the lysosome. And over time, more and more oxidized cholesterol is stored in its lysosomes of the macrophages, and the macrophages grow, and they grow into so-called foam cells, and these foam cells form the plaque in the arterial walls. And what happens is the plaque grows and grows and grows. First, it grows outwards, then it starts to grow inwards, as you see on the picture on the right-hand side. And at some point, the pressure is so big that the internal arterial wall ruptures. the soft plaque goes into the bloodstream, and the body recognizes automatically, oh, there's an injury inside the artery, and the platelets try to heal that injury, and then you get a blood clot, and that blood clot in the end blocks the artery, and so you have a heart attack when the blood flow stops. So what we do, we have developed a substance that is able to bind that's able to enter the arterial walls, enter the macrophage, enter the lysosome, bind the oxidized cholesterol. In that case, that's the 7-ketocholesterol, and transports it out of the macrophage, out of the arteries, and so deflates the foam cells, and that thus removes the plaque, the soft plaque, and no soft plaque, no heart attack. So, and we hope to have this and we're working on to have this as a simple oral pill that you swallow daily. So a simple pill that you swallow daily, starting at the age of 40, removes the soft plaque, and that would be the end of heart attacks. And also the same strokes. Strokes is the same thing. Instead of the arteries in your heart, it's the arteries that go to in your brain that get this blockage. So that would mean the end of heart attacks and the end of strokes. And you have to see that of all people dying every day, about 2/3 are dying of age-related diseases. And of those age-related diseases, 80% are dying of just 4 major classes of diseases. That's cardiovascular disease, 25%, cancer, 25%, that's age-related diabetes and neurodegenerative diseases. So that's just removing a major cause of death from the planet. And I think that this is going to be just like antibiotics. Having the plague around was in the Middle Ages was something that's totally common. Nowadays, it's inconceivable. And I think we're going towards a future where it will be also inconceivable to die of a heart attack or a stroke. So, and this, for example, I envision this to be a simple pill, let's say $10 a month in average for somebody to make sure that you don't have a heart disease. Really sounds like a great product that everybody can afford. And still, it's going to be a huge market because we're addressing more than 4 billion people on the planet. The second example that I'd like to highlight is Revel. Revel eliminates another root cause of age-related tissue stiffening and loss of skin elasticity. Our body, of course, as you know, is compromised of cells, but to keep these cells in place, we have a 3-dimensional structure that's called the extracellular matrix that's made up of proteins. And this, if it's youthful and pristine, this extracellular matrix is very flexible and can easily move around. Unfortunately, our body operates, our metabolism operates on glucose as the source of energy. Everybody has glucose in our bloodstream. If you're diabetic, you have usually very high levels of blood glucose. Average people have lower levels of blood glucose, but you have blood glucose no matter what. And unfortunately, this glucose forms unbreakable bonds with the proteins just by the fact of being there. So from the day you were born, throughout all your life, your blood glucose starts forming unbreakable bonds with the proteins. And just like a thing, if you have this unbreakable bond, the extracellular matrix gets stiffer and stiffer. So why is that important? One example is, for example, fibrosis, that is tissue just hardens over time. And one tissue in particular are blood vessels. So what happens is like, imagine a garden pipe when it's young. And you put pressure on that pipe, the garden pipe is elastic, it can expand, and then the water just flows through it. Now, if you have an old pipe that's really hard and you put pressure into it, it cannot expand anymore because it has hardened, and then the pressure goes up. And this happens to everybody in our arteries once we age. So, and this is the reason for age-related high blood pressure that over the time damages our blood vessels, for example. But it happens in numerous other tissues as well. Also in the skin, this is also a reason why we have skin wrinkles. So what we have done at Revel, we have developed an enzyme that enables the body to break down these protein crosslinks. And it will enable us to regain useful elasticity in the extracellular matrix. We would counter fibrosis and also counter age-related arterial stiffening. And the third and last example that I've brought with us is elastrin. Elastrin is also working on eliminating and repairing a root cause of age-related tissue stiffening and loss of organ functioning, that is calcification. So calcification happens in a lot of places. Also in our blood vessels, so we have soft plaque, that's the macrophages that we talked about, but we also have hard plaque, that is broken elastin fibers that are calcified where we have calcium deposits, but also organs calcify, like the kidney. So every kidney over time as it ages starts to calcify and loses function. Also our capillary system, not the arteries, but the capillaries that, for example, supply the brain with nutrients and oxygens calcify over time. And so what we have done is, at Elastrin, we have developed a nanoparticle that has a special monoclonal antibody on its coating that targets it to broken elastin fibers. And the nanoparticle is loaded with a therapeutic that can decalcify that place and remove the calcification from organs and blood vessels. And we can regain youthful skin elasticity and organ function, particularly, for example, in the kidney, but also in the capillary system, but also the coronary arteries. So this also is one of the major causes. And if you take these three together, we remove the soft plaque from arteries, we remove the hard plaque, and we return skin elasticity. We remove the calcification from the capillary system. So that would enable us to really, to a large extent, rejuvenate our cardiovascular system. So on the right-hand side of the slide, you see the broken elastin fibers calcified, and the lower pictures repaired youthful elastin fibers. So yeah, these were three examples of what we do at Kizoo. In general, just as a small advertisement for what we're doing, we're expanding our team. So if you like what we are doing, either for Rejuvenation Now or in general, we have open positions. We are looking for PR and outreach specialists and others. You will find that on our foreverhealthy.org website. So if that is something for you, consider joining us on that mission to make aging a thing of the past and age-related diseases a thing of the past. Yeah, that was my presentation. Thank you so much. You find all that information on either forever-healthy.org or on kizoo.com. That's our website. And thank you so much, and back to our host.
Thanks, Michael. That was a great talk. And I think it's really great that people like you are getting into this field. I mean, it was on the private development side, it was completely starved for many years because, you know, the pharmaceutical industry has not really paid attention to aging until very recently. And so, you know, injecting VC money in has really helped the field move forward, I think. And while we're on that, I'd just also say that the Undoing Aging Conference is a really exciting conference to go to. So if people are interested in hearing about aging from all different perspectives, that's one of the places I would definitely recommend. And Berlin in spring is nice too. So, you know, everybody that from your side that gets into this has a story for what got them interested in aging. What was yours?
My story was that while building my internet companies, I have built together with my brother some of the largest internet companies in Germany. And basically, I was the epitome of the hacker, like you have it in a really bad movie. So I was overweight, living from pizza, smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, no sports, working 24/7, well, you name it. So really, really bad. At some point when I was like around 40, I said, okay, this can't go on like this. And I stopped smoking, lost weight, started exercising, and wanted to change my diet. And I thought, well, that's no problem. I just have to learn how to feed myself healthy. And I said, well, I know this internet thing, you know, I can just look it up. And then I started looking up about nutrition, and I discovered that nutrition is more about religion than about science. And so it's not that easy. So I started reading everything that I could about nutrition, and then and then my basic motivation was I want to stay healthy for as long as possible. And then, of course, you come to the next step, to functional medicine and integrative medicine, and doing some biohacking but over time, the more you get into the topic of healthy living, I understood that, well, I can live as healthy as I want, no matter what I'm going to age, and aging brings age-related diseases. So I cannot stay healthy if I age. And that brought me to the work of Aubrey de Grey, of Ray Kurzweil. I started reading about that. And I was really interested. I attended some talks of Aubrey. And I thought, well, they're in Silicon Valley. They should have all money in the world, because people probably are super interested in Silicon Valley and the whole thing. And then there was a point, I think that's 4 years or 5 years ago, when I realized, hey, the Sense Research Foundation, they are hardly getting along. They don't have the money. And I was really sitting there and said, okay, I'm so grateful. I was so happy that I was so successful building these internet companies, and we're in venture capital doing good. And I thought I have to do something. I sent an email to Aubrey and said, hey guys, I want to visit you. I flew over to California, met Aubrey and Mike Cope, and told them, hey, I'm going to give you $10 million for $5 million for research. We're going to fund 50% of your research projects, and the other $5 million, because I'm an entrepreneur, we want to use, I said, we have to use that to fund startups in order to turn that basic research into products, as I said, because we want to prove to the public this is not science fiction, it's working. And yeah, that's one thing led to the other. And then I was funding research, and we are doing our first small investments into startups. And then we saw, well, there should be a cool conference. I was used to textile conferences like we had that in the internet field that I was working for years. There was nothing like that in aging. So we decided to start the Undoing Aging Conference as a big networking event that's a bit different than other science conferences. Yeah, and that one thing led to the other. And then we made bigger and bigger investments also. And now we helped really fund 4 major companies in the thing where we're also the major investor. And we also made we now made the decision to invest up to 300 million euros into our core startups to help them follow up with our 4 major investment goals of making this real. It's for everybody. It's uncomplicated. It's the best business to prove that.
So you interact with it. First of all, I noticed you've invested in some of the SINS things and partnered with SINS. So that's been a fruitful thing, I guess, because it allows you to like share ideas with other people. And I think we need to do more of that, because there's a lot of companies out there right now, and it's hard to do diligence on everything. And there's still not enough money, although it's getting better. So you talk to a lot of academics that want to, do things in longevity, start companies, and what are they naive about? What kind of advice do you give to people that have ideas and that they're professors in the academic space that often don't know what they don't know about companies?
Oh yeah, that is really an issue. This is the point is to talk to people like us, or there are some others in the market. I think it's really crucial to build a team. You need a CEO to do this. You need a team that has a lot of different superpowers. You not only need the science, you need somebody who keeps the whole thing together. You need somebody who is responsible for getting the financing in. Our experience is, and you have to be patient, our experience is that it's a 2-year process. as we have seen it. It doesn't happen overnight. In the tech industry, also to my fellow investors, in the tech industry, startups are founded easily, but in especially rejuvenation biotech, it's really hard work. Our experience is it takes up to 2 years to get everything together, to get a team together, to find a CEO who's willing to join the team to drive things forward, to get the IP deal negotiated with the university, setup of the company, get the right bunch of investors together, and also to develop a good plan, a good strategy on how to bring a product to the market, because you need a step-by-step process. Right now, aging is not an official indication, so you need a surrogate indication, something that's close to aging, like we picked, like remove of plaque or remove of calcification, which of course the calcification, our first indication is probably going to be decalcification of a heart valve, but of course this whole thing is going to work systemically as well. It
seems like you're kind of at that interface, right? Because there's sort of two views in this area. One is to target diseases of aging, and the other is to try to just target aging directly and extend lifespan, which, as you indicate, has problems because it's not a disease indication. But it seems like from the companies you talked about, you're targeting pathways of aging, but then also picking disease indications that are as close to aging as you can get to try to get drug approval for. So is that, or the other companies you get involved in similar to that, or do you have any that are directly trying to slow the aging?
No, it's all similar to that, because in the end, if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, it's one and the same thing. The diseases of aging are directly linked to aging itself. So, and if you go for the root cause of one disease of aging, you're basically dealing with the root cause of aging. So I think this differentiation between one and the other is artificial. And I don't think aging is a disease that should be treated. Aging is just a physical process that happens. It's like your car breaking down, becoming rusty and whatever. And we also repair this, or we build houses and we maintain them. We don't say, oh, this house has a disease that's aging. For it's quite normal just to to maintain a house or a car.
I agree. And it's a semantic discussion anyway, right? It's either a disease or the biggest risk factor for all the other diseases. And either way, you need to do something about it. I think that we forget that if you take cardiovascular disease, you mentioned cholesterol, the reason that we've had success in cardiovascular diseases is we identify the risk factors and treat the risk factors, and aging is the biggest risk factor. So I think the field tends to get really bogged down into this argument about whether aging is a disease or not. And I'm okay with anything that gets us to the finish line, which is how do we get money into the field and do something about this problem. So.
Absolutely. And I think in the far future, when we look back, people will just smile about our semantics that we made. For them, it would just be normal to keep the body in pristine condition for years and decades.
So how engaged are you with companies when you get invested in them? Are you like helping them on a day-to-day basis, serving on the board, filling in gaps that you may have? What is it different for each company? How do you approach it?
So we're serving on the board. We have the people in our team are really experienced in the biotech industry, but we're not in the day-to-day business. That's really their job. We are more on the strategy side. We talk with them about what would be the right products to develop, what would be the right path to go forward, the delivery systems, making connections in the industry. And it's not about one financing round. You have multiple financing rounds that on each other. So you have to build a vetted equity story. You have to think when you do one investment, you already have to think about, okay, what do we use this? How do we use this money to get to a new product development level that will enable the next financing round? And so we are helping him to really develop that strategy and to deploy that strategy. This is where we can really help our startups. We don't do anything on the everyday science.
It seems like you mentioned like this is the right place to be to do something. It's kind of there's an element of social good in this investing that you're doing, and does that make it any different and it makes it different maybe in what you choose at the beginning to invest in, but in terms of developing the company, is it Is it any different? I mean, because your mindset is based on changing, life quality and improving, human condition. But of course, the company's making money. And so is there any conflict there?
No, I don't see a conflict. It's just there are two basic aspects of it. One is we are really happy to take big risks and risks that other investors would shy away from, because where you see, we already made our money in the internet. So really happy. We almost produced 3 unicorns with the startups that we created. So that's not an issue. So we really want to drive humanity forward. Of course, we would be happy if we make money with the whole thing. So we're taking really big risks and big bets here, and we are staying with our startups. So we're not only investing in the seed rounds, but keep investing on. And I think this is necessary to keep our startups on track, because if you follow with the conventional pharma, biotech investing, we do not want to quickly sell our startup to a pharma company, and then you might end up with an extremely expensive therapy that's maybe $50,000, $100,000 to cure heart disease for the people who can afford it. This is not what we want. We want to use our financial power also to keep our startups on track to produce products for everybody, because I think in the end, this is even good financially, commercially, because I think it's a new paradigm, and most investors have not yet realized that new paradigm, that it's not about making expensive treatments for a few people, but inexpensive treatments for more than 4 billion people on the planet. That's a big shift, and we want to be spearheading that shift, and we're backing that up with our money.
I've said this a lot. It's not about the billionaires; it's about the billions. And
yes.
But I think that so how do you go about that? I mean, 300 million euros sounds like a lot of money, but you could spend that on one phase 3 heart failure trial. So if you're not going to partner or work with the pharma industry, how do you get to market with some of these companies?
Oh no, we're definitely open to partnering. That's not the way. We are super open also to partner with other venture capital companies, and so that is really not the point. And I think the pharma industry is a really great industry, and it's just a paradigm shift, like from standard phones to mobile to internet phones. So. It's just a shift, and the pharma industry, I think, will do pretty good, because they are mostly about doing phase 3 trials, having the distribution and marketing power, and of course we want to use that. What we do not want is to hand our products away too early, and that it might go into the wrong direction. But I really, yes, for example, for India, maybe we negotiate with somebody who produces generics, and we say, well, we want this treatment to just cost $2 a month, and then pick somebody who shares our vision about that. That's more what we want to do.
What's the time frame? Last question, then we'll go to Max. What's the time frame on living decades longer? How soon is that going to?
I think all the core startups that we're working right now with entering phase 1 in I don't know 1-2 years from now. So we're talking 5, 7, 8 years until we might get some substantial results. I mean, sometimes you even have in phase 2 really good results. So maybe 5 years from now. I mean, the things that we see in the petri dish or in mice are already super amazing. But unfortunately, we all know it doesn't always translate to humans. So we just have to try,
Yeah, sounds good. Let's bring Max in. I mean, you must have some questions to ask.
Sure, we got some questions from the audience, and one of them is actually from David, who wants to know what are some of the things that Kizoo looks for when it comes to investing in early stage companies that are working on cutting edge rejuvenation therapies.
First of all, we are looking really at molecular and cellular repair. So we're not interested in things that just slow down aging, like mTOR modulators or stuff like this. So it's really going for repairing root cause. That's the basic thing. Second thing is we're looking for stuff that hasn't been done before. So we did, for example, when it was completely new, we invested in 2 senolytics companies to get that going. But right now, I would not do senolytics anymore, no matter how good the product is, because there are already companies out there. You get financing easily for that. You don't need somebody like us who's doing these high-risk bets. And the other thing is we're looking at the people. So it's always, technology is one thing, but experience from running companies, building companies, investing in companies, it's always about the team. No matter how good your science is, the team is the make or break thing. And so is the team really dedicated? Are you really willing to go the extra length? Is the CEO somebody that we have trust in, that's a real fighter? So that is extremely important.
We're going to have to argue about mTOR over a beer sometime, but I'll let Max go on.
Well, not for us. It's not for us. I think it's a valuable thing, but we have limited resources and we have to focus. That's quite simple as that. We have to make Kizoo. I mean, we have lots of resources. We even have more than we're investing right now, but it's not unlimited, so we cannot do everything.
I'm just teasing. Max?
So maybe like another question from Pei, which ties in that. To how many startups do you have to talk before you find something that you are willing to fund?
That is...
how many frogs
maybe maybe one out of 20 or so.
Okay, well. And then maybe that's like a question from Sarah, which ties a little bit into earlier. Are there like any startups in the fecal transplantation space?
No, not yet. Not yet. That's super interesting, but I would even love to look into this. But the first thing that I would look at this would be risk management, because yes, you can transplant a lot of good things with fecal transplant, but unfortunately, you can transplant all the bad things as well. So how to make sure that the transplant that you're using does not do anything bad would be a real issue for me in that space.
Yeah, I think some really exciting area there is that there's a lot more effort now going in, not just to sequence the bacteria in the gut, but to figure out the metabolic changes associated with the right bacteria. Once you know that, you can, in theory, add the good metabolites without changing the bacteria necessarily. So.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. A healthy gut biome is essential to a healthy person, and a youthful one too.
We've got like another question from Pragya, and he asks, is any rejuvenating therapy to reduce chances of cancer, especially breast cancer?
Well, it's not actually a rejuvenation therapy, but you're absolutely right. There are multiple therapies, exciting stuff. I didn't have time to talk about it. We are invested in 2 of those. Ocean, which develops nanoparticles that also could kill very targeted cancer cell. And we are invested in Lift Bioscience, and they are doing something that's totally amazing. There are people who are immune to cancer. The immune system is so good that it kills cancer. And what we are doing is we are extracting the immune system of people who that kills cancer, multiply that in the bioreactor. And if you have cancer, you get an injection of a foreign immune system that kills cancer cells. And in mice, we can infect mice with human pancreatic cancer, and they quickly grow solid tumors to the size of 1 cubic centimeter. We give them one injection with our immune system, our cancer-killing immune system. 48 hours later, the solid tumor is gone. So that's amazing, and we are working on translating that to humans. But that's about where we are. Yeah.
Michael, I don't want to scare you, but you really sound like a scientist these days.
Yeah, it's all that I do. I've shifted my whole entrepreneurial energy, my whole resources are on this now. So this is what we do. We still have our internet stuff, but we just attend the board meetings there and help them do their IPOs and the big financing rounds that they do. But that's about it. And the whole team is 110% focused on this now.
Can I jump in? You know, there's speaking of internet and companies like that, there's a lot of companies now trying to be diagnostic companies to measure biologic aging. What do you think about that approach in longevity and also the like biomarkers like methylation clock? Is there a path for these companies?
Actually, I don't know that. I think the big challenge is that there is a mismatch between what we can do and how we would treat aging, and what most of these companies measure. So if I remove plaque from the arteries and make the arteries young again, so that's rejuvenation, or if I remove calcification, but there's no biomarker that would show that my arteries are now younger. They usually go for epigenetic age. And it's really hard to say whether a certain rejuvenation therapy would really change the epigenetic age or not. So, of course, it's understandable that I would love to have one marker that says, oh, my biologic age is that, and now make this therapy, and now I'm 5 years younger. But unfortunately, it's not working that way. I think we would more rely on, okay, we have this root cause of aging, that's a certain type of damage, we have to measure that. And then we do the therapy, and then we measure again, like what is the intermediate thickness, what is the calcification, what is the stiffness of the or the elasticity of the skin. Did it improve by breaking the cross?
Yeah. One more question, Max, maybe.
We have like some questions. I just put them together. It's like, which is like a little bit about like the regulatory and the translational process. That to some extent it takes quite long to bring those therapies to the clinical phases, and also if you can only test it on deceased people, how do you see moving that forward?
Well, the disease is not a 0 and 1 thing, you know. Because we all suffer from aging. For example, we all build up plaque in the arteries. We all build up calcification. We all get all the age-related diseases once we age, and we all have all the risk factors for that. But for one person, one thing is faster than the other. So one person is killed by a heart attack. The other one is killed by cancer. If we would be old, grow old, really, really old, we would get everything of that. So we could just focus on one of those things and remove that and measure that.
Maybe really quickly, like speed round question.
How do you reach a reasonable valuation for a rejuvenation biotech startup at early stages?
That's not that easy, but I think there has to be a balance. For us, there has to be a balance about the risk that the investor takes. The money that you need. I mean, as opposed to technology, we're usually talking between like $2, $3, $5 million to get a startup off the ground. But since we are really believers in founders, so and we want to make sure that the founders still have a substantial share of the company, even after ABC financing, to keep them motivated. So there has to be a balance of that. And so far, I think we managed quite well.
Well, great. Thanks a lot for doing this, Michael. And hopefully I'll see you at a conference somewhere soon.
Yeah, Brian, it was great seeing you again. Thank you for putting this together, an awesome event, and like almost 200 people attending. That's really amazing.
Oh, thanks. And there'll be a lot more downloading afterwards because we're on at odd times in the US too. So thanks a lot. I want to remind everyone to click on the panelists and all attendees button if they want to go in chat box and leave comments afterwards. Our next speaker will be Nir Barzilai, who'll be talking about the TAME trial and also about lessons on aging that have come from the pandemic. So that'll be exciting. And tonight I want to leave you with some of the things that people over 60 in China are doing to ensure their own healthy aging. Thanks a lot for attending.
Sing feeling like sunshine, like springtime, like something's in the water and I'm taking a deep dive. I'm feeling so weightless, like I'm gonna make it, and nothing in the universe can take this. I can see it clearly now, nothing gonna bring me down.